Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we got a ton of previews and a lot of really cool news coming down the pipe. We are going to preview Honor Submission Challange. We are going to preview Grapplefest 16, and we are going to preview the UFC Fight Pass Invitational, headlined by Craig Jones versus Felipe Pena. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined co-host
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. It's a rare show that we have a bunch of cards coming up next week, as well as some cool news. Basically, this week we are going to go through matchups. There were a couple cards this weekend. They were fun, but really we have basically straight bangers coming up next week. Wanted to spend the majority of time talking about those versus just doing recaps. So before we get into that, let's get into a little bit of news. Biggest news for once, we are recording post-Monday news. ADCC has announced that they are adding another weight class for the women, or they're adding another weight class, so there's going to be 3 women's weight classes. And they are going to shift the weight division. So previously, ADCC, you had under 60 kilograms for women and over 60 kilograms for women. Back in the day, they've had an absolute, and they've shifted the weight classes before for women. But for the past few cycles, 10 years or so.
And that's 132 pounds for us Americans.
Yeah. They are now moving to 55 kilos and under. Is the first weight class.
Which is like 121?
121. Yeah, 121. Yeah. Pretty much exactly.
That's what I did for, what's it called?
For the Open.
For the Open. That's why I know that number.
Then you have 151. You have 55 to 65 kilos. And so that middle bracket is being bumped up by 5 kilos. And then, which is about 142, I think?
143. 142, 143, something like that.
And then you have 65 kilos and up.
Yeah.
So really cool if you fall in that bell curve. We talked a little bit earlier. There's a lot of great response to it.
I'm on the side of not being very. I'm not very excited. Like I appreciate the fact that they give the little women a weight class because I know there are smaller women that don't want to be
women like my Sebastian
that are like
115,
120, and I get that, but you're also what I'm going to call middle-sized women. You're kind of disadvantaging people that are in, like, let's say 160, 180. Like, you're not giving them. You're throwing.
You still got to fight Gabby Garcia.
Yeah, you're throwing them to the higher weight class, and I think there needs to be more like 4 weight classes. There needs to be one more, and then an absolute at the end. But that's
again with 3 weight classes potentially we can get. There is more kind of a bigger argument for having an absolute for the women nowadays. If you do have 4 or 3 now.
But I still disagree. I think there needs to be another weight class in there so that everybody from 143 up doesn't get all thrown together, because 143 to 2 something is a big gap.
Yeah. IBJJF, I think we'll segment the women up to 181.
Yeah.
And again, there's a bell curve there. I'm definitely on the other side of that. I'm happy that there are more weight classes. I hope that we're going to get a lot of the women that historically, like my Sebastos, that are like in the 115 around there, like Danielle Kelly, women that went. Yeah, I have no business against women, or I don't want to go against women that are cutting to make 35, cutting to make 60 kilos, and I would be going up 20, 25 pounds.
So isn't that the same thing for a woman that's like 160, 170, where now you're going against 200-pound women?
A little bit, but you're still getting 10 extra pounds there.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
we're going to see a lot of the talented women at like rooster weight, light featherweight that are now going to be going into trials and getting invites and going into ADCC.
So they can show up with their fake eyelashes.
So they can go. They can do what they're doing.
All the pretty weight classes can be in there now.
And
okay, I'll shut up now.
We have 3 women's weight classes. I'm very happy that we're now we're going to have actually 8 more women. I think the women's weight classes are staying at 8. So we're going to have 8 more women in ADCC. We're going to have 24 total. So that'll be awesome. Hopefully that gives a pathway to increase registrations and additional weight classes in the future. So that's awesome that has been a big change. That was, I think, one of the things that was the thing that Mo is looking to change going into 2022. And because of COVID, he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
So now it has been changed, so that's awesome. We're going to see that at the trials. He was hoping to get that done before the second trials, but now it's been done before the first trials. So even though that first trials is not a qualifier for the women, we're going to see that, and then for the second qualifier, we'll have it. So big news for ADCC. And other big news, kind of ADCC related. Mo Jassim has put together a team, the Modolfo team, for the AIGA. I think it's AGA?
Do they even say that, or do they just say AIGA?
AIGA Global.
It's not the easiest tournament to follow because it's normally not in English, and I'm like trying to hit the translate button on Google.
It's in English sometimes. Sometimes they have an English. They have an English stream, and it's great. Mo Jassim put together a team. It's a team tournament. There are 4 teams entered. B team has a team. A couple other things have a team, but the big team that got announced this week is Mo Jassim's team. It is Taliesin Suarez, Diego Hayes, Fabricio Andre, Gabriel Souza, and these go up in weight classes. So basically, you field a guy from each weight class. Dante Leon, Isaac Michel, Giancarlo Bodoni, and John Hansen.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's a killer weight.
Good luck.
A killer
every
group right
other
there.
team.
I mean, you might have to go like Kyrgyzstan or one of those countries might have to like create people.
Yeah, you're gonna have to dope them. I just think
like old school 1980s Russia needs to create some people.
Khal Drogo. So that is one of the biggest super teams we've ever seen put together for an event like this.
Yeah, it is.
And I do not know what other team you would be able to get together.
They have to go against Nurmagomedov's team, round 1.
Khabib's team.
No,
second round. I think they're on opposite sides of that.
Oh, okay.
Was my understanding was that the team Nurmagomedov
because the first
MMA school is on the opposite side of Team Modolfo.
But there's a little arrow between the two of them. Doesn't that mean they're going to go against each other?
I think it's a stylized X. I think is what it is. So you have Universal Fighters.
I thought they were saying like this team has to go against this team.
Maybe again
because that's what I do with arrows, but maybe
you have
not.
Team Universal Fighters versus Team Nurmagomedov MMA School, and then Team Leon versus Team Modolfo, and then they'll go in the finals.
Yeah, and this is part 2. Part 1 was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the part 1 was fun. We didn't get a chance to cover it on the show, but it was a lot of fun. That'll happen August 18th and 19th. So coming up, we'll probably preview it in more depth.
Yeah, because Deagle was on B Team's team.
Yeah, and he looked good there. And I think he won his matches.
I think he won all of his matches. Yeah.
You remember him looking really good and he did a press conference over there. And it was, again, I love what these guys are doing. The event organizer for AIGA is always at the opens for ADCC. So he's very involved with those guys in that crew. And so it's cool that, again, they're showcasing more talent globally, more European talent, more Eastern European talent. Yeah. So that's awesome because there are some powerhouse
probably
grapplers.
Asian talent too when you think about it.
Asian and Eastern European grapplers that we don't get a chance to see a ton of as frequently over here in the U.S. getting showcased, and I'm always excited about that.
And if you hear the lightning thunder in the background,
I
guess you would hear the thunder and not the lightning, but it's very loud.
Yeah, it's very loud. So if we lose power, hopefully we got the laptop. It'll stay on, so we won't brick the whole show. Any other big news this week? We have a couple other card announcements. I heard
something weird like that in Australia. Latchin Giles is putting together like a scholarship.
So
like is that $100K?
It was 80 or 100K. It was originally 70K that he was putting up. Then he put up I think 10 more K, basically to clean Australian athletes that are doing the majority of their training and skill development within Australia.
Yeah, he's trying to keep some people in Australia.
Yeah, and so Lachlan made a really good post on Instagram, which is explaining the whole kind of bare bones, but initially explaining the whole program, explaining like who it's for, what it does, and what they're looking to do. And basically, I'm looking to put up my own money and some other sponsor money to foster and grow talent of Australian grapplers that are still training locally,
which is
in the Australian
great because I'm sure that there's a lot there, but there's not the amount that is like somewhere like the United States or maybe Brazil. So to keep people there is hard, and then you have to think the rest of your grapplers are at a disadvantage because you don't have these people. You have them coming and leaving, but you don't have them staying.
Right.
You know?
So it was a really cool. I think Levi Jones Leary. So basically,
Levi Jones Leary is from Australia, and he's left and went to Unity.
But he's back now, and so he's part of that pool. So basically, Lachlan talked about the testing. He goes, "Look, we also want guys to be clean. If you're going to be in this, we're going to test you prior, and if you either skip out on the testing or fail the testing, it's out of your pocket. So don't make us test you if you're not clean to be part of this." And I think he only had like one guy drop as a result, and he didn't name him, which is cool.
Yeah.
We on the Grappling Rewind don't really care. But if Lachlan cares and wants to put up his own money to foster whatever program he wants to foster, those are his rules.
And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the community. If somebody, if you have an area that is kind of like that where you're not going to have people stay if they have the ability to make more money somewhere else, to give them the amount of money so that they can foster it within their own community and create a good program is where to go.
I think it's great. I forget how many athletes he is basically enrolling in the program. I think it's like 10 or something like that, or it's an amount. I think Josh Saunders is part of it, who had some great matches this weekend on the Australian card that we're unfortunately not going to be able to cover. I know Levi Jones-Leary's in it. I think a couple other of his criteria was you are already going out and you are performing well at an international level and medaling at an international level.
Yeah.
And it gives you, we're going to try to continue to push you by being able to sponsor you to be able to go and perform and go, afford to go and compete internationally because Australia, those flights are expensive in and out. And so it was cool. It's a great program. Lachlan's a shining light in our community that is not always the brightest. So I really love that he's looking to foster Australian talent.
I appreciate good news.
Yeah, we don't get enough of it in grappling. Other than that, I don't think we have any other...
No, I don't think anything else crazy happened.
Any other big news? Zach and I spent the weekend doing commentary at Copa Elite on an event down here in Manassas, Virginia. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully that will be out. I think it was broadcast on Cagezilla's website directly, but you can probably go find matches at some point in the future. You may still be able to watch it through Cagezilla. I'm not exactly certain.
Yuta had his streamed. I don't know if he was supposed to do that or not. But
Yuta Shimada had a good match.
Yeah.
Sam Kilmer had some good matches.
You can go on his Instagram and watch it.
Yeah. But Zach and I had a great time out this weekend commentating that. As always, really, really fun to showcase the local Virginia talent. And some other guys flew in, and there was some brought in talent, which is always great. Sam Kilmer won that in impressive fashion in the finals for a 9-man, $3,000 cash prize tournament.
I refed
and it was a lot of fun.
Hammer Challenge Series in Jersey. Dylan Garofalo was a super fight then. A bunch of guys from Jason Rao's school basically killed the amateur tournament. But it was fun. It was a good kind of more, it was white and blue belts in super fights, and a lot of wrestling talent trying to come up, kind of on the local scene, which is good.
Speaking of wrestling talent, we got one of those guys on the UFC coming up.
Yes, do.
So awesome. Do we have any other news we want to go through, or do you want to run into the UFC?
No, we can go. If I think of anything, we can bring it up. But
so let's go. We have UFC Invitational 4 takes place June 29th. So if you're listening to this, it'll probably
be my birthday.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday. It's my birthday.
Thursday night. Yep. Thursday night cards are always a lot of fun.
Celebrate my birthday by watching this.
UFC tends to do a lot of them on Thursday. Do you want to start with the main event?
Sure.
So we got Craig Jones versus Felipe Pena.
And just before we get into this, I spent literally 40 minutes this morning thinking I was going to lose my freaking mind, because Fight Pass Invitational is on the 29th. There's also Who's Number One that's in August, on August 10th. They both use the same picture of Felipe Pena.
And on the same side. And on the same side, and the same orientation, at the same scale.
And the same
everything.
Scale, and it's very similar looking, and it's very confusing. And they all have almost the same people. They all have Florida. I call him Florida.
So this event
and they have a bunch of other people that are on both cards, and it's very confusing. But they're two completely separate tournaments.
Yeah.
Don't confuse them like I did. Okay.
So in a couple of days here, we've got Felipe Pena and Craig Jones.
Yes.
They've not gone against each other. This is not ADCC rules anymore. This is EBI rules.
It is.
And so as a result, because again, ADCC is no longer with Fight Pass, they are now back on Flow Grappling because they want to stream the Opens.
The way Fight Pass put their name all over their mats, so that now Flow Grappling has to show their name, is kind of amazing.
That's really funny. Yeah, in Dallas last weekend, I was like, there's a lot of Fight Pass mats up here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But hey, you order the mats and you run them till they run out.
I'm surprised they didn't cover them over, but I guess if they covered them over with tape, everybody would be sliding on them and pissed.
Yeah, the mats are interesting for ADCC.
Yeah.
As a guy that put them down and brought them up for ADCC.
Are they the rolly ones?
They are the rolly ones. They're good. They're good mats.
They're good.
But they're very large, which I like.
Okay.
But they have a printed surface on them, and so it's those decals aren't like stickered on.
Is it kind of
they
like
almost like printed on?
Oh, so it's not like the MMA ones where you on MMA mats and you feel like you're gonna slide across.
They're textured. They're definitely
okay.
textured. They had a couple because they had 16
like if
mats
anybody's
at Dallas.
ever been on an MMA like tarp
Canvas.
or canvas, whatever they call them, where they have things printed, sometimes it's slippery.
Because they have vinyl decals
Yeah.
for MMA mats
Yeah.
a lot of times, and they get slippery. And so you have a fight that goes late. If they haven't done the decals as textured decals and they're not like
Yeah, you
stippled,
slide.
they're just vinyl like wrap.
Yeah.
And you just slide off them. So no, the ADCC ones are still, they're printed on, they're almost like
Okay.
textured. The tatami mat is textured too.
Okay.
So they might rip
Is
your
it-
legs up a little bit.
Is it
but
kind of okay?
it's
well,
like
that's kinda
it's like
nice.
the thinner zebra mats
Okay.
that aren't gonna just like rip your feet up, but if you slide hard, they'll probably do it a little bit.
that's like the mats I have at my new gym.
Yeah.
They're not the ones that really kill you, but
They've
still,
got some texture to
They
them.
still mess you up. Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
that's those mats. So
Oh yeah, you were there, so you know.
So this is basically the match of like who's going to fight Gordon Ryan is what I'm guessing. Both these guys have a lot of history with Gordon. Craig Jones has been against
Gordon
Gordon.
Ryan's got to get his stuff together.
He's got to get his
before he
stomach and
actually-
whatever and be back to competing. Craig's been against Gordon 3 times, 3 losses, 1 at ADCC, 1 at EBI, and 1 at Quintet.
Okay.
Pena has been against Gordon Ryan 3 times as well. 1 at Studio 540 where he won, 1 at ADCC 2017 where he won, and 1 at Who's Number 1 the day his best friend died, where he lost technically, but it was weird and it's an odd match.
And
But he's
then
2-1.
one where Pena wins by.
No, it's just the 3.
Yeah, but Gordon didn't show up. Gordon. Oh, no, you're talking about
Yeah.
the
there's been
stomach. The stomach illness.
Yeah. There's been 3 of them. They have some other combined opponents. Interestingly enough, Craig Jones was last out to Atos prior to the UFC Invitational 3 when
Yes.
Pena was supposed to face Gordon. Gordon Ryan pulled out of that one for, I forget, stomach, I think.
Stomach issues.
Stomach issues. And Nicky Rod, who was in the Absolute tournament, filled in.
Yes.
Which was funny because essentially Craig Jones had flown to Atos to train with Pena because Pena was at Atos.
Yeah.
To
help somebody beat
face
his
Nicky
friend.
Rod, which is a guy in the B team camp
His
with Craig Jones.
teammate. Yeah.
So these guys have. It is interesting that they're having a match so soon when they have just trained together and focused Pena's game specifically as Craig Jones being brought in as a coach.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. You
I
brought
don't
up
know if
something.
he was brought in as a coach as much as he was just brought in as probably a body that
but
understands
that knows
legs.
Gordon
Yeah.
as well, and
Yeah.
trained with Gordon for 4+ years. That's a guy you want
Yeah.
in your camp. It's just interesting now that they are both being matched up against each other. We think it's a 15-minute match. Last time Gordon versus Nicky Rod was a 20-minute match. It possibly
Yeah.
could be a 10-minute match.
It's either a 10 or a 15, but
Yeah.
it does go to overtime because EBI rules.
Yeah, and so that's let's talk about the regulation of the match, and then let's
Yeah.
talk about overtime. So there's a lot of kind of combined training partners between the two guys.
Yeah.
They've been in the same rooms. They have fought the same guys. They have a lot of understanding of each other's game. But again,
Yeah.
that's everyone at the top level. They've studied each other's game.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know what the other guy brings. Craig Jones is best at his leg locks from the bottom
Yeah.
and some squid guard work, and he can get your back and he has a great guillotine. Felipe Pena has some of the best leg locks defense of anyone in the sport.
He also is going to sit to his butt immediately.
He's probably going to play guard. He's probably going to play the bear trap that we saw him play in that big long match
Yeah.
with Gordon. And I think the dynamic for this match is, can Craig Jones pass Felipe Pena's guard? We saw
Yeah.
Felipe Pena's guard passed by
Nicky Rod.
Nicky Rod at ADCC, just passed him once with a body lock.
Yeah.
But Craig Jones tends to not play that
Yeah,
same body lock like
don't
Nicky Rod.
I don't see Craig Jones having the body structure to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
He needs a little more. I mean, Craig Jones is a very large man.
He's lanky too.
And he's lanky, which always kind of I forget about until I think about the picture I took with him and I came up to his waist.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm the size of his legs.
Yeah, he's very tall and
So,
lanky.
Yeah.
So my question, there are 2 questions, is can Craig Jones pass Pena?
Yeah.
Can Pena sweep Craig Jones?
Yeah. But it's EBI, so it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter unless you can submit in regulation.
Now,
I doubt
what
either of
happens
these guys
if-
can submit in
once if
regulation.
Pena, if Craig Jones allows Pena to sweep him so he can then leg lock him.
It's possible,
Or
but
something
again,
like that. You would almost have to set him up to be, because so Pena's gonna sit. We kind of know that's going to
Probably,
happen.
yeah. They may hand fight at the top, and they kind of
But-
will wrestle for a while,
But he's probably going to sit.
probably will sit.
And then if he sweeps Jones and then thinks, oh shit, I did something really good. I swept Jones. And then Jones just leg locks the fuck out of him. That would be a way to handle that situation.
I just don't
But
think we
I don't-
haven't seen Pena leg locked in a while. He can be leg
True.
locked. He's been leg locked, but not in a while. And you brought it up on the pre-show. How much training has Craig Jones been doing, and how much has he
true.
been back and forth between Australia training Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya?
Yeah, he has been. He has. It seems now I could be completely wrong with this, and I do not know what he does, but it seems like he's doing a lot of traveling and not a lot of training here at home.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not training while he's away. He probably is, but
not at your own camp.
Yeah, and how much is he doing jiu-jitsu all the time? Like, is he only doing jiu-jitsu, or is he also becoming a sparring partner, even though he's not really?
It sounded like in the podcast that he did with Israel Adesanya that he's kind of in the mix there, like mostly grappling, but also like
being a body
for other kinds of rounds.
Yeah.
And they were kind of non-specific. They kind of got into a little bit, but it seemed like Craig Jones was mostly there doing grappling training, but also like being a coach in that room and probably not working on himself a ton.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I don't know about is how much Craig Jones is putting into himself. Though Craig Jones is he likes himself a lot.
He does like himself. and he's good. And it's, again,
So-
at what point are you going to build a new skill set to take on a guy like Pena, and how long would you need to do that? But that was another kind of big X factor, aside from like already having gone and trained with Pena, to then also maybe not being at the B team a ton because you're out and back and forth on travel to Thailand and to Australia, New Zealand, like wherever he's been.
Yeah.
And he could have been at home this whole time. I can never really tell where he is, but he's definitely been to Australia at some point in the recent past because he did that podcast with Adesanya that I didn't think was old. I thought it was pretty recent.
No, I think it was pretty recent. It sounded like
he's talking about the movie and talking about, and again, he would have known that stuff before, but it seemed like a recent show, like he was with Adesanya.
And this match is in Vegas.
Yeah, it's in Vegas. So I don't think they're going to submit in regulation unless Craig hits a flash leg lock. Potentially Pena can get on top and hit a head and arm, kind of like what Duarte was looking for, but I don't think
this
that
goes
happens.
probably into overtime.
Yeah, I think overtime is probably a pretty safe bet. Now, both guys are really good on the back.
Yeah, but watch Craig Jones pull off like a crazy ass armbar or something.
Like he did it, almost did at Gordon, like 2017 again at that
Just
EBI.
because like that's especially if you know or if you have the idea that you're not going to win by much, you might just freaking try to pull off an armbar. I watched so many people in EBI matches do that, where it's a ballsy thing to do. If you're in those later rounds and you're like, fuck it, I gotta do something, you just freaking.
When's the last time we saw Craig in an EBI style tournament go to overtime?
I have no idea.
Was it Quintet? That wasn't EBI
I
style.
don't know. I didn't look that far into. I didn't.
But I'm saying it might have been one of those like. It might have been 5 years.
It's been a minute.
I'm probably forgetting something.
I don't recall seeing him in EBI in a long time.
2017, 2016.
Yeah,
is when I remember
a lot
Craig
of super
Jones being
fights,
in EBI.
but not a lot of super fights with EBI rules. Like
Sug, submission on the ground, Mason Fowler.
True.
When he got choked by Mason Fowler was the last time we saw him because he was the champion. He broke Vinny Magalhaes' leg in half. Craig Jones did.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then he fought, I think, Checo
did you see? Side note: did you see Sug is going to do a Sug San Diego?
Really?
They're doing a San Diego and they're bringing a bunch of people.
That'd be fun. I mean, again, Sug's got a kind of a shortened rule set, but it is a lot of fun when they bring names out to it.
Yeah.
And again, we got to see Andy Varela kind of first on Sug make his debut there, so that's exciting. In the overtime, Pena is so hard to deal with for everyone, but we don't see guys camp on his back with huge regularity. But Craig is also a guy that I think Pena's going to outsize Craig a little bit here.
Yeah.
But is it going to matter? And how much EBI training has Craig done in his gym versus Pena probably doing a more traditional IBJJF ADCC rule set where they're probably not drilling back mount escapes as much as the guys over a B team with that camp pretty frequently in those kind of tournaments.
True.
Off and on.
And if you think about it, Pena's also then going to turn around and do who's number one.
Right.
So he might just be preparing for like almost like a
sub-only almost.
Sub-only event.
Which is kind of what this is, but not really.
It is, but not really, because the problem is when you're equal otherwise, then it goes into overtime. And the overtime is always what,
I honestly kind of think
the killer.
I think the UFC is setting this up for Pena to take, but I could also see them pushing Craig Jones, because Craig Jones has become a really marketable commodity with Adesanya, all the podcasts, all the interviews. Like, he is a kind of running parallel to Gordon, I think, in their eyes, as far as like grappling superstar that we can leverage.
Yeah.
I want to pick Craig here just because I think he has more experience in those sort of rule sets, but I think Pena is going to be the bigger guy, and that historically has been a bit of a problem for Craig for these elite guys. Like, when Craig runs into a guy like Mateus Teniz and like Gordon and like, I think like Pena, I think that, and even Duarte's not that much bigger, but even Craig in his post-fight interview for ADCC talked about how big and strong Duarte was.
Yeah.
It's historically been a bit of a problem when he has an elite guy that is also big and strong, and Pena kind of fits that bill.
He is.
I want to go Craig because I like Craig. I like his game. I want to see him succeed.
I'm going to go Pena.
But I kind of think Pena because of that size difference.
But I'm going to go Pena.
Yeah. You think he gets him in ride time?
I think he gets him in overtime. I don't know where he gets him in overtime. Probably ride time, just because I don't want to say this, because I don't want to say this, but this might be a very...
bad. Slow.
Not bad, but
boring.
Slow moving, like not cagey, but...
tentative.
Yeah, they might just kind of try to play each other out and not really take somebody...
I can see this being a very, very slow match.
To have this match be fun, somebody's going to have to take a huge, huge jump, and...
recently, neither of these guys
have done it. Now, Craig might. You never know with Craig.
I mean, we can always have the Adam Bradley match again.
The Adam Bradley match was boring.
Yeah. Not Adam Bradley.
No, it was
Sean Brady.
Sean Brady.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, good on Sean Brady, but...
there's also no leg locks. I think there are leg locks and heel hooks in this one, so that's back on the table.
I don't know about that.
Who knows? But
who knows?
Yeah, I unfortunately...
there's only one
because I like Craig's game.
UFC actual person in this entire thing.
Yeah.
Which is Alex Perez.
It would be great to get more information on the rule set ahead of time.
Or like how long the match is going to be.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I'm going to go Craig because I'm going to go... I'm going to do I like Craig.
Okay.
But it would not surprise me in the slightest to see Pena win this on ride time from the back, or even be able to mount Craig and put up a ton of offense during the regulation and get something going.
Okay.
But again, Craig Jones also got that leg lock game.
Craig Jones is fun. I do enjoy him. There's sometimes when he's...
one of my favorite dudes, but recently
out.
has been a little hesitant to pull the trigger.
Yes.
Aside from ADCC, where he pulled the trigger a lot.
Yes.
So we know we can do it still.
Next,
also on the card
co-main event.
Is we want to do that, or let's do the tournament first?
Okay, we can do the tournament.
We're going to jump around, Miranda.
Okay, jump around.
Tournament, we have
Not
a
order like
$30,000 absolute tournament, one-night tournament cash prize. Haisam Rita, Big Dan Manasuri, Felipe Andrew, Wagner Hosha, Gabriel Arges, Fedor Nikolov, Nicky Rodriguez, and Pedro Hosha.
Yes.
That is one hell of a lineup. If half those guys make it to fight night, which is about historical for EBI-style events on Fight Pass, historical for what we get.
No one's pulled out as of date.
As of now,
everyone is still in.
That's the match. That's the card I hope we get. If we get that card, that's phenomenal. I think the easy picks here. So you pulled all the weights earlier.
Yeah, I did. Because I was curious on how everybody weighed.
So you got all the weights here. Want to remount?
Yeah, I'm just going to read them all out in order because... anyway, it's 208, 275, which is our biggest.
No, so Haisam Rita 208.
Okay, Haisam Rita is 208. 275 is Big Dan. 222 is Felipe Andrew. 181 is Wagner Hosha. 181 is Gabriel Arges. 195 is Fedor. 220 is Nicky Rod, and 181 is Pedro Hosha.
So a pretty standard absolute. We have some guys in the 80s, but again, we've talked about it for years on the show. That 180 mark is about the smallest you can be and still compete in an absolute. But typically the guys that are at 180 in the modern era aren't the guys winning the absolute. Although it happens, but typically not.
Also, they they normally are a little more aggressive. They're the super aggressive ones in the like Wagner Hosha. You might win against Wagner, but he's going to beat your ass. Like, you're going to get fucked up.
Wagner Hosha is going to make your day. He's going to make your day kind of sad.
So, like, we don't know what the bracket's going to look like. I think it's going to be like a Big Dan versus Nicky Rod final.
Yeah, I do too, unfortunately.
Because the two, and I think Nicky Rod can beat the shit out of Big Dan.
Big Dan is really good.
Big Dan is good at what he does, but I think Nicky Rod's been around enough leg lockers that it shouldn't really, it shouldn't really be a problem.
Yeah. We've seen Big Dan. We saw him at the
Emerald City Invitational. We saw him at ADCC, the one in Canada.
And the one,
Montreal.
he won the one in Costa Mesa that I was at.
Yeah. And was he in Vegas? No, I don't think he was in Vegas.
No, he was in ADCC.
Yeah.
Because he won trials.
No, but the Vegas, or not Vegas, Denver.
Denver. He won Denver, I think. I think he won Denver as well.
I mean, he's been
winning.
But in those tournaments, is he going against people?
Is he going against silver medalists at ADCC?
Yeah.
That's the question. So I think another guy that's going to throw a wrench into this is Honor Rita.
I think Honor Rita too, but Honor Rita, like, he's one of those on or off.
That's
if he's
the thing.
On, then
he's submitting Cyborg in 45 seconds. If he's off, then he's getting his back taken. And
you have to think, I would assume that him and Nicky Rod are going to be on different sides of the bracket.
I would think that.
Because they train.
But they might also put him on, like, the same side. Because, again, it's not EBI. It's UFC.
Yeah.
So I assume standardly you put teammates on the opposite sides. Yeah. But UFC may decide, like, hey, this is the bracket we want to see. This is how we want to see it go. I don't really know how they're going to decide to bracket this.
If they bracket like Nicky Rod versus Fedor Nikolov round 1, I'm sorry.
We looked at Fedor. Fedor's a new purple belt from 10th Planet.
New brown belt.
New brown belt.
New brown belt.
Oh, I thought it was new purple belt. Okay.
No, new brown belt. And I mean, he's a very good gentleman, but he's also 195 pounds, and he's a new brown belt going against
an old brown belt Nicky Rod. Pedro Hosha is Pedro Hosha really 181? Is he that big?
I pulled all of their...
Yeah, that seems about right.
From their record, I tried to pull their most recent weight because I was trying to, like, figure out... Because I thought Wagner Hosha was, like, small.
He used to be.
Yeah.
Because Wagner used to be a 45er, and then he is slowly...
He's also... refused to take some blood work.
He's also mentioned he's on TRT because he's old.
So yeah,
he went. Hey man, I'm getting old. I'm on TRT.
We might get like a 220 Wagner.
I'd love a 220 Wagner.
Dude, that'd be freaking awesome.
Because again, he was at 88 last ADCC. He was at 70. He was a medalist at 77. At 2019. Then he was at 88. Guy.
I would love to see him come in at like freaking
208.
Yeah, it'd be freaking amazing.
So
like, yes.
It really depends on how they bracket this one, but I think Nicky. I would be surprised to have someone take out Nick Rodriguez in this bracket. He's looked amazing in past EBI style events. He looked good against Gordon at the last UFC Invitational. He is my guy that I think can do it. Big Dan has been a little hit and miss on hot and cold, but recently has looked really good.
Yeah.
Honor Rita recently has looked really good. Wagner Hosha recently looked pretty good, but is smaller than these guys.
Yeah.
Gabriel Arges, always a factor, really tough. And Pedro Hosha has one of the best guillotines in the sport.
Felipe Andrew, I mean, has a lot
Felipe Andrew's in there too.
He has a lot of activity. I mean, he's a very fast-moving...
I mean, go back and watch his match with Adam Wardzinski and look at the first 6-7 minutes of that match.
I mean...
To speak to how good Felipe Andrew is. And look at the triangle over Hulk. Look at the triangle over Keenan. Like, Felipe Andrew can snatch guys up with...
And he's big. I mean, he's as big as Nicky Rod.
I always forget he's that big.
He's 222.
I always want to put him as like 160, even though he's...
For whatever... I get him and the gentleman that's on Honor I get him and Fabricio Andre, like, for whatever reason, like, their names...
Two very
and they're, like, way different sizes.
They just both start with an F and an A.
I know.
Fabricio Andre and Felipe Andrew.
I know, and I'm just like... he's like because that might have been part of the reason why I pulled this up, besides wanting to know how big Wagner Hosha was. I was like, Felipe Andrew, he's like 145 pounds. What the fuck is he doing in there? And he's not. So he's 222 pounds.
So definitely Nick Rodriguez in the finals here. Is there a reason that you're going to pick either Big Dan over Heisem or Wagner or any of the other guys?
So Heisem has been training with B Team. So
I mean, he
maybe
moved there now.
So and he beat up dude that was breaking into his car. That was a hilarious story if you listen to that story.
That is a hilarious video too.
Yeah, the video is pretty awesome too, because from the video you can tell exactly what happened too.
You can see Heisem mime to the
like,
police,
showing
foot
how
swept
he
him,
like
and I got him down, and then it was just like, and then you see the pan on it is perfect. You see the guy pan, they throw him onto the gurney, and then you see Heisem Miranda like explain to the police exactly the throw he did to the guy, and it's just like that is a textbook video.
So like, my only thing about Florida is he's really long legs, and I feel like that gives a lot for Dan to grab a hold of.
Yeah, if he pulls
and like
and leg locks
he's
him.
really good. I mean, and he's in a really good camp to not get leg locked, but
he hasn't been there 6 months.
He's got some really long legs.
Yeah.
And that, for whatever reason, that to me is like
a liability.
A liability when it comes to going against somebody who we saw
seriously,
break someone's leg in
a guy
half.
like Big Dan can break your leg off, and if you got a lot of leg,
Yeah,
it's interesting. I do think
so. I go Dan and Nicky Rod in the finals and be man meat versus man meat.
I think that probably that goes to decision. I think that Big Dan probably pulls, and then Nicky Rod probably body locks the whole time.
Tries to pass, and then we have Gordon telling Big Dan how not to get past.
Yep.
And
he's in the corner probably.
It just becomes the two of them and a stalemate.
And then we go to back control, and then I think that Nick Rodriguez probably has a better rear naked choke because Nick Rodriguez has one of the best rear naked chokes in the sport. Yeah. So I think Nick Rodriguez takes it, but there's enough guys in here in the mix that...
And you never know. Somebody might come... Like...
It happens every EBI style event where someone comes and they're ready to make a name for themselves.
We might have Fedor come out here and go into overtime, and because he's 10th Planet and they've been doing overtime for the beginning since the beginning of time. That he beats like half of them with like crazy overtime tactics.
Again, he's the biggest X factor here of like you just don't know, and he's from that camp that this is all they do.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And they have some crazy, they have overtime tactics.
Yes.
And some of these other schools might not be thinking about that, but that's something you definitely have to pay attention to when you go into that rules.
I'm really excited for this. Someone is definitely going to fuck up the bracket and upset it, and that's always kind of the fun with these. Again, I wish...
because they might add some crazy person in the middle.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden we get like, what's it called? I don't know.
Roosevelt Souza, or we get Damon Ramos, or we get like John Hansen comes in. Like we get someone that's just like a giant trials winner.
They're like, I flew in last night. I got in 2 hours of sleep.
Or we get like Luke Griffith or something coming in there.
Yeah.
Luke
Griffith could like
we've seen crazier things
all
happen.
All of this crap. Yeah. That could.
Wish we had a bracket. We don't have a bracket, but I think I'm picking the easy pick, Nick Rodriguez. He won a similar tournament about 6 months ago. I see him doing it again here, but who knows with an absolute tournament like this? Usually a lot of fun. One more matchup on the card. We have
multiple more matchups on the card.
On this card.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
We have two more matchups on the card I want to talk about.
We have a bunch.
We have Glover Teixeira versus Anthony Smith, both of UFC fame, both have fought John Jones.
They actually fought each other.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They fought each other in May of 2020. Glover won by TKO in round 5.
Light heavyweight division for the UFC.
Yeah.
Glover's a good grappler. Like Anthony Smith is a good grappler as well. He's a bit younger than Glover.
Yes.
But Glover, had he not jumped for that guillotine on Jiri, he would still be not now, but he would have retained the championship there.
Yeah.
He's retired now. He's back to being just full-time being a coach now.
Yes.
I'm really curious to see how Anthony Smith deals with Glover. I think this is going to be a match that we see both guys on the feet almost the entire time.
And I think Glover Teixeira has the ability to take him down.
Yeah. Glover has a good double leg. Yeah. He's a good swing single.
His double is freaking wild. And I think he's relentless. Like, he's going to take him down, and he's going to get, like, at least in his MMA fights, which is different because you can set things up in MMA.
With strikes.
But if you ever watched his double, like, he would double and then immediately get on top. And it was like...
He tends to double into mount.
Yeah. Because he just kind of, like, sweeps his leg over.
Kind of like Damian Maia used to do. Sometimes. He would double you, he gets you down, he folds you over as he does, and he hops in the mount.
Yeah, I think he has... In a situation like this, I think he has the ability...
To arm triangle from the top and win?
Anything.
Okay.
To just not do anything, but... to get on top and then do something from on top.
So
arm triangle.
We're both picking Glover by sub in regulation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I think that's a safe pick. Again, Anthony Smith has always impressed me since I saw him debut in the UFC all those years ago, but Glover's a pretty big monster grappler, and in less farther time has really crept up on him. That's possible.
I do have to say his Instagram's hilarious.
Yeah, Glover's great.
It's pretty hilarious.
What other matches we got?
So we got Marigali versus Cyborg. We were supposed to match. Yeah. Got Marigali versus Cyborg.
Is that on this one?
Yes. Unless I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, okay. That's why. Because Margali's versus Duarte.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my
okay.
God. That's why
I
this is so
told you
confusing.
this is why it's so confusing. And I keep on messing who's number one and freaking UFC Fight Pass.
Because they all have the same guys. And it's all the same font. And...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I forgot that.
So you're getting as confused. Yeah, because we were supposed to watch this match and then we didn't watch it.
Yeah. So
anyway,
Nicholas Margali versus Cyborg, Roberto Cyborg Abreu. They've gone against each other twice. Margali in the gi
both times.
Margali has beat him twice by loop choke. The most recent one being
you cannot loop choke without a gi.
I mean, you can. It's just way harder. You can hand over hand loop choke, but I don't think Margali is going to do that.
Yeah. Isn't that just an Ezekiel?
No, technically it's different because you pull the head down and it's a hand behind. It's like it's a whole different choke.
I don't know how you do
looks
a
like
no-gi
It looks like an Ezekiel, but it's not technically an Ezekiel.
And it's not a
Ezekiel,
diesel squeezle.
It's not because it's a fist in. So they've fought twice, loop choke both times. This match is not in the gi, but their last match was at Third Coast Grappling. Cyborg was a late replacement for Keenan.
Nope. IBJJF Worlds 2021. IBJJF Worlds.
Was it?
2021. Margali by loop choke in the gi.
It was quick, though. They were both quick.
Yeah.
So the dynamic is going to shift significantly here. This is Margali's, what, 8th
I don't know,
match?
because he had all the ADCC ones.
Like 4 or 5.
So then he had like 3.
I think it says like 8th or 9th.
8th or 9th, maybe?
Yeah, no-gi match.
I don't know.
Looked very good at ADCC, but we haven't seen him
since. But, I mean, it's Margali.
I think Margali takes this again.
I think Margali takes it again.
I think he takes it by sub. I think he takes it by triangle from the bottom.
I could see that too.
What do you see?
I mean, we know Margali might try to foot sweep or do something, but Cyborg is a lot of man to foot sweep or to take down.
Yeah.
And he is not he does put the gi on, but I would say the gi is not his primary thing.
Nowadays, Cyborg's mainly no-gi. He's been mainly no-gi for a couple of years.
So, like, Margali pulling would probably be a smart idea for Margali.
Yeah.
I would think. Because I don't see him taking him down because he was doing single legs and foot sweeps.
At ADCC.
Yeah, that's primarily what I saw most out of him standing when I think about it. And I don't see Margali getting that on Cyborg because he's kind of like a little meatball of a human.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get...
Dude, and
knock
so many guys have struggled and been unable to take Cyborg down over the years. Repeatedly, that has been like one of the tenets of Cyborg. It's like, good luck taking him down.
So I just see Margali pulling guard. I see it kind of being funny watching Margali look for grips that he doesn't have.
It's always kind of funny to watch him reach his hands up for a sleeve grip. He does it if you catch it. He does it almost every match where you see him reach with a cat's paw grip and cup, and then he'll take a whole hand.
He does that, and there's a couple, like, every once in a while you'll see him, like, when he goes to grab pants, he'll go to grab a pant grip and then just grab a pant. Like, there's certain things. You can watch him with his hands. He definitely at some points is, like, grabbing.
He will reach for a collar occasionally, too, which is kind of... He does that way more rarely. But the one I see almost every match is him. He'll reach for a sleeve grip, and then he'll grab that wrist instead.
Yeah. But I see him pulling, and
I don't think he's gonna leg lock Cyborg.
No, I don't.
Cyborg historically has been hit with leg locks, but I don't think that's really Margali's transition game.
Cyborg is a very pressure forward, grindy kind of person.
Yeah. That's kind of why I think the triangle is going to be there.
And that kind of sets up your triangle. Marigali likes to smother choke people. I hate smother chokes.
Do you think he can sweep Cyborg over? I think he can sweep Cyborg. He's done it before, but without the gi, Cyborg tends to base into your hips and lay into you, and that's why I think that...
I was trying to think, but... So we'll say triangle, because his last match he got a triangle. Remember the triangle in his gi? Who did he last go against?
Eric Muniz.
Who's number one? No, he was the main event.
Pedro Mourinho.
Pedro
Mourinho.
He had the big triangle in his gi.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, a triangle. So I foresee this being another triangle.
I could see it as well.
That seems like how he rolls.
Yep.
And before the match, he'll probably have some kind of ridiculous thing.
Probably.
He was posting about something today, but I forget what it was about. It was something. He posts some really bizarre like posts sometimes.
He does. So we're both going Mergali by triangle from the guard. Maybe triangle from mount, but probably triangle from the guard.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think it's probably, I'm guessing it'll probably be quick too. Mergali tends to work pretty quick. Yeah. We'll see, but Cyborg's a veteran.
If it goes later in, then it's going to get complicated because Cyborg doesn't really have a neck. So how are you going to rear naked choke him when he has no neck?
Yeah, the overtime would be interesting. But again, we've seen Mergali have slower matches, but typically, and again, in all the Cyborg matches, he's gone quick.
Yeah, and we never see Mergali. We've seen very few people mess up Mergali's flow.
Yeah, I agree. So that's that match. What other matches you want to go through on the card?
So we have Cravar versus Emily Hernandez.
Yeah, Helena Cravar is also on this
card. Emily Fernandez we saw recently against who's number 1 against Rosa Walsh.
Yeah. Beat Rosa Walsh.
Beat Rosa Walsh, yes. And she's a black belt from Bruno Bastos. I think she's, in all honesty, this is probably one of the strongest opponents that Cravar has been put against for a super fight.
Normally, I think so, yeah.
Normally she's put against like purple, brown belts, up and comers, but no one that has a really.
You were looking Emily Fernandez up, and I looked her up a little bit, and you figured out that she was mainly a competitor in like the AJP scene and like World Pro.
Yeah,
so she spends a lot of her time in those sort of regions in those matches.
Wrong person. She's in Texas. Emily Fernandez is in Texas.
What match am I talking about?
You're talking about Grapplefest.
Oh, I'm thinking about
but she also does AJP, so you were correct in saying that. She does a lot of IBJJF. She's from Texas. And she's won against like Elizabeth Clay, she's won against Anna Rodriguez, so she hasn't won those matches, but she's at least been a newer black belt who's experienced some adult black belts that have been around a while. Where I feel like Helena Cravar she did trials. So in trials, she went against adults.
Yeah.
But otherwise...
And she beat a lot of the adults. And then she ran to Elizabeth Clay. Yeah. And Elizabeth Clay was able to beat her at trials when Cravar was 15?
Yeah.
16, something like that.
But she's been, because of her age, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And because of her upbringing, she's been kind of protected from being kind of slaughtered by the adult black belt women.
Very reasonable.
Which is probably what you want to do with because you want to build her and foster her
but
up.
now we're seeing her in the ADCC Opens in the adult divisions, winning all of those.
True.
And looking good. I think she was on the mat next to me in Dallas.
I think Emily Fernandez is a good stepping stone for her to show that she has the ability to go up to that black belt adult competitors and be this champion that they say she is.
Yeah, because they're trying to make Danaher's first female champion. Yeah. And kind of pushing for her to do that. So it'll be interesting. I think Fernandez has definitely the tools to beat Cravar.
I think it's going to be... I'm going to say Cravar's going to win it.
I think Cravar won it by leg lock.
But I think Fernandez is going to give her a much harder time than people previously have.
Yeah, it's a good matchup. It's good. Yeah. It's good matchmaking, honestly, because it'll show us. I think it'll show us more on this stage because we've seen Cravar in some of her tournament matches have really tough matches, have hard matches versus female black belts. But on the super fight stage, we haven't seen a ton of it.
No,
so I think this is a really good matchup to have her for a super fight, not a tournament, on a big stage, her on a mat. And again, it'll be interesting to see how Emily Fernandez does that because Emily Fernandez has also had good matches before on the big stage. Yeah. So. It is exciting matchmaking.
And then it's also the last one is the one that the UFC seems to post about every day is Roman Bravo Young, who's a Penn State wrestler versus Alex Perez.
Yeah, he is the new hotness wrestler that the UFC has latched onto. Yeah. They've done that a lot recently with guys like Bo Nickel and I mean everyone.
He's Penn State. Bo Nickel's Penn State, so I can see it being like maybe they're kind of feeding him up to do something with him.
Alex Perez is good, but I think that Ramon is probably just going to wrestle.
Roman.
What did I say?
You said Ramon.
Oh, sorry, Roman. Roman is probably just going to do the wrestling.
RBY. That's what they call him.
RBY?
RBY.
I think RBY is going to do the wrestling.
He's going to do that wrestling thing?
I like Alex Perez. He's a really good UFC flyweight. Yeah. He's been in some really exciting matches, but you pulled RBY's record, and you were like, yeah.
College, it's 101-10, and high school it was 181-0.
Yeah,
Dude
so that
is,
speaks to the pedigree of his grappling.
he's a stud wrestler.
Again,
100%.
Perez is a crafty grappler in his own right.
He is. So, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully Bravo Young knows not to put his head out. He might get guillotined.
Wrestlers do get guillotined a lot.
Yeah.
But
Alex Perez have a good guillotine?
And can Alex Perez heel hook? Are heel hooks allowed in this match?
I don't know. We don't
Are
know.
leg locks allowed in this
well,
match? Yeah.
Alex Perez is still in the UFC, so
Probably disallowed in this
probably
matchup.
not allowed in this match.
Because we've seen that frequently as well, where we saw it versus Nicky Ryan. Nicky
Yeah.
Ryan had.
I mean, if he just takes him down and then he can't pass, that's an also. But then,
then it goes to
and
overtime.
It goes to overtime. I don't know. I tried to see if Roman was, or RBY, or whatever you want to call him, if he still trains at Penn State Wrestling because he wants to be on the Olympic team.
right.
So I don't know how much jiu-jitsu he's actually experiencing. So, or if he's just doing a shit ton of wrestling thinking, I can do this.
We've seen this match go so many different ways where you have stud wrestler specifically go into a jiu-jitsu match. We've seen it where they crush. We've seen it where they get crushed.
I watched him this weekend.
It's usually not anything in between.
Yeah,
it's
they
usually
either-
either they get quick subbed or they crush.
Yeah.
I just don't know what this one's going to be.
Yeah. And what I saw over the weekend in my matches was that the wrestlers do really good in the original rounds, but when they go into overtime, they get super confused.
It's like, hey, man, he's
Because
on my back with a
they
choke.
have
What?
no idea what to do. And
Yeah.
they're also the type that'll normally go out because they don't tap.
Yep. they black out before they tap out.
Yeah.
And we love them for
100.
it.
Yep.
So that's
So-
UFC Invitational. Any
Yeah.
other matches you got?
Nope, that's all of it.
That'll be fun.
That's all of it that I'm aware of.
I'm amped for it. What do we want to go through? I think we should go through either one, Grapplefest or Honor. What do you want to do next?
Grapplefest.
Let's do Grapplefest. Grapplefest 16. It is its own pay-per-view, right?
Yes, it's
its own
thing.
pay-per-view.
It's like
remember how much it was?
it's like 15. It's around $15 US. It's 12 pounds. I converted it. It's like $15.
Good price. What's the do you have a main event for this one?
Yeah, it's PJ Barch versus J Rob for the under 80 kilogram belt.
This is I can't. There it is. Okay,
Right there.
I see it now. This is a weird one. You love you some PJ Barch in
I
his
love me
game.
some
I
PJ
love some
Barch.
Jay Rodriguez.
I do.
This is going to be a battle of the wrestler bros.
It is the wrestler bros.
It is the wrestler bros. Both these guys. Again, J Rod post collarbone injury.
J-Rod,
haven't
yeah.
seen in a bit.
Nope.
And I'm curious to see how he looks. PJ Barch
just opened his own school.
Ooh, that's a big X factor.
He just opened up his own school. I want to somewhere in California. I forget where. PJ, but this is what I will say this. So PJ Barch, for that, what it's worth, has done really well in the last couple years, and he has been hitting the
body lock.
No,
takedown.
he's been doing he hasn't been staying in training camp the entire time. He's been doing seminars left and right everywhere under the sun. So I don't think the factor of him opening a school is that much of an effect on him.
I mean, PJ Barch less than 12 months ago beat JD Torres at ADCC.
And that was after doing a seminar tour, I think, to kind of pay for the training and be able to do everything, because he was all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
I saw
You did a seminar with him.
I did 3. I think I did 3 seminars with him so far, and that was within a 2-year period. So it's, I don't know. I think PJ Barch has kind of everything under the sun. He's looked good. He continues to look good. And he's continued to improve, I think, with all of his matches.
I think J-Rod's kind of in the same boat, except he's 10 years younger.
And he's got that injury. How much time?
Yeah, and
he just got back a couple weeks ago from...
Was it only a couple weeks ago? I thought it was a little bit longer than that.
Maybe it was. I don't know, because when you listen to that show, they tape it way ahead.
The Simple Man gets taped a month or 2 months in
I
in
don't
delay.
know. Yeah. So I don't know how much time he was taking off.
Dynamics of the match. I think we're going to get mostly wrestling on the feet.
Yes.
Who do you think can take the other down?
I mean, I'm going to say PJ.
You're going to say PJ. Okay, so it goes to the mat. You have J-Rod from the guard. They both know the buggy choke. You're not going to buggy choke either guy.
You might get the double buggy.
They'll probably at one point you'll see it. Do we think that
I don't think PJ is going to let him bite. I mean,
Do we think that Barch can stay on top the entire time and prevent Rodriguez from getting to his back is the question. Because Rodriguez,
but
even versus Bodoni.
But you go like a PJ Barch, Dante Leon match.
Right.
It's the same sort of, I mean, they're all the same sort of like wrestling bro.
Yeah, that
group.
88 kilogram,
Dude,
77 kilogram, all kind of looks the same.
I'm a fan. But anyway.
I kind of think that
it's
Barch takes a large chunk of this match,
and
then J-Rod does what J-Rod does, where the last 2 minutes of the match
this is
almost subs Barch.
This is sub only, right?
And then decision.
Yeah. Okay. With no overtime or any kind of fancy stuff.
Yeah.
I say PJ.
I think PJ, because I think PJ will dictate more of the pace of the match.
Yeah.
If he cannot put J. Rodriguez away, I think the last 2 minutes of this match get super spicy, where J-Rod just goes, oh, I'm J-Rod, I better win the last. And they talk about it on the podcast. J-Rod has never won the beginning of a match, but he always wins the end of a match.
I wonder if Nicky Rod's going to fly to see
I do
J-Rod.
not think so. I think we'll have Damian Anderson in his corner, probably.
Because I don't think Nicky Rod likes to fly anyway.
So I think Barch takes this. I think it gets real close at the end.
Yeah.
But again, the X factor is J. Rodriguez's injury here.
J. Rodriguez also is the type that I think he gets better with time. So I think
and he rapidly gets better.
Yeah, I think as the match goes further and further along, Jay has a better chance of grabbing Jay.
Absolutely. And also, I'm really curious for like looking at J-Rod's career, kind of just starting to ramp up, post ADCC. My big question is he going to continue to make these huge jumps? I mean, he won trials, but are we going to see him do it again? Like, we know he's leveling up the room because everyone's talking about how much better he's getting, how much faster he's getting better. He's only been grappling for 3 years or something like that. I am very curious to see if
because I remember
we see a completely different guy than we saw at ADCC.
Because I remember his brother posting about him, and he was just this scrawny little.
He was like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I think PJ takes it, but watching Jay break out or late in the match be able to submit PJ wouldn't surprise me. But I think PJ probably takes a decision here, mostly from top. But if there's anyone that's going to surprise us, it's a guy like J. Rodriguez.
Yeah, true.
Next match, we have Gabriel Souza versus Damian Anderson. My people.
Your people.
Little guys.
Oh, your size?
Yeah, my size. This is a really tough match for Anderson. We just saw Anderson versus Colabate pretty recently. In a good match back and forth, but a match that he lost to who's number one. Gabriel Souza had that kind of controversial match at ADCC where half people think he was out, half people think he was out. He's been on Toro. I think Souza takes this one, but Damian's a guy that's also been making very rapid, very large improvements at the B team.
He's also been training MMA at the same time.
Also been making the transition over to MMA, which...
Did I ever tell you that once I coached, and the guy that I was coaching against was Gabriel Souza? He was coaching the other guy.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Random.
Little non sequitur there.
Because he's in North Carolina, so he's kind of
he's a ZR team, I think.
Yeah.
I think that Souza takes this. Again, I'm concerned that Anderson's switch over to MMA is taking his time away from grappling.
Yeah.
And that's usually when guys start to have that point in their career.
He does admit, like, when you listen to him on the podcast about, like, what his time is like and how much time he spends on this and how much time he spends on this, which I don't know if it's the smartest idea to be telling everyone that. But at the same time, I mean, he's trying to show that he's putting the time in, I think.
He's trying to go be a pro MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to go change his profession.
He's showing, like, hey, I'm doing 2-a-days, I'm doing these 3-a-days, I'm doing all this stuff. But at the same time, what he's showing is that you're not putting your time into your grappling.
Yeah, and Gabriel Souza's only grappling.
Yeah, all he does is grapple.
So, again, I love Damian Anderson. I would love to see him win. Yeah. He is probably one of my top 5 favorite guys to watch online.
And I think the two of them, it's going to be standing for a bit. I think the two of them are going to definitely be fun. I think Damian has the ability to beat Souza on his feet. I just think that he's not going to be able to hold him down for very long. Yeah, and that's going to be the problem.
I agree. I think that Gabriel Souza is so crafty in getting out of things and getting up that Anderson's not going to be able to hold him down long enough there to do what he wants to do.
Let's say it becomes a boring wrestler match and they just kind of like feel each other out for the whole thing. Oh, we're not going into overtime, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Right.
That doesn't matter. No, my brain's getting confused again.
I think that Anderson can win this via activity. If it's kind of a slower match, I think he can do more. But I think that Souza, is so hard to put away, so hard to control, and
I have a bunch of Souza's instructionals for passing. His passing is insane.
I mean, I watched his passing. He talked about passing Mikey Musumeci's guard, and like him, like the way he breaks that down. It was like a 2-minute YouTube video. I was like, that is a phenomenal amount of information.
If you ever want to borrow it, I have his on passing in general.
Yeah.
And it's he does a lot of movement. It's left, right, in,
he
out.
passes how I like to pass.
Yeah, it's a standing guard pass, and it's a lot of movement. So even if Damian, let's say, pulls, I don't see him doing that.
Can you get to the legs? Can you leg like Gabriel Souza?
I think
probably
Souza's
not.
going to pass the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be Damian trying to get back to where he needs to be.
I agree. And again, I would love to see Damian. I love both these guys because we've watched them for years and years and years. But I think this is stylistically a rough matchup for Anderson.
Yes.
Especially with committing his time between MMA and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Souza takes it probably by decision. Also on the card, we have me scrolling through.
We have Peyton Letcher taking on Nadine Tavares.
This is fun. So this is Letcher was just in. You just watched her matches this weekend on.
Actually, I didn't watch it, but I saw that she won.
I saw some highlights on her Instagram.
Yeah, and I talked to somebody else that was watching it because I was like, what the hell was that? Because I didn't recognize.
What event was it?
It was called Balance and Flow. It's outside of New York.
Yeah.
Because I think Peyton has been spending quite a lot of time in the New York City Henzo Gracie gym.
Mm-hmm. That's where she's out now. Now.
I think she still says she's out of South Africa, but I think she's spending a lot of time.
Yeah, I think
Henzo.
Most of her time is committed at Henzo's in New York.
Which I should go up to Henzo's and have her beat the crap out of me for fun, for shits and giggles.
Nadine Tavares. So this is where I flipped the two. I flipped Emily Fernandez and Nadine Tavares.
Yeah.
Here.
So Nadine Tavares, she's the one that she does a lot of AJP, World
UAE,
Pro.
JJF, those sort of events.
A lot of European and events that are kind of on that side of the pond that we don't get a lot of time seeing. But she is a black belt. She has been in the circuit for a very long time. So I think it'll be an interesting match.
Yeah. I don't know enough about Tavares' game to really speak to it. Again, we've been really, really excited about Letcher since she won the first European trials for the 2022 ADCC. And she's Midwest Finishers champion. Almost was the Rise champion. Oh, no. Was the Rise champion? No.
No, she lost.
She lost in the finals of Rise, but almost every tournament she is in, she wins and finishes by sub.
Yes.
I'm very interested to see how she takes on Nadine Tavares here. So always a fun one to watch. Happy the Grapplefest is going to have them back. What other matches do we have
William
here?
Tackett.
Yeah, this
versus
one.
Bradley Hill.
William Tackett and Bradley Hill. Bradley Hill, been in the UK scene a lot. If you've seen a Polaris, you've seen Bradley Hill. I think he's been on Grapplefest before as well.
I believe so too.
But love seeing him on the card. That being said, I think William Tackett is probably going to take this and probably take it via sub.
Yes.
I think William Tackett is a phenomenal wrestler who's only improving and getting better. If you've been seeing his videos recently, just the work rate that they have at Brazilian Fight Factory, and now he's got Isaac Michelle. He's got both of his brothers, and he's got Cody Steele. And Cody Steele, again, is splitting his time between MMA and grappling.
But still, that's some crazy, Cody Steele's pressure and the way that he handles.
I think is really similar to Bradley Hill, actually. And Bradley Hill's going to come forward and push and pressure you and put a pace on you. I think that a guy like Cody Steele is a younger version of that game.
Yeah.
And William Tackett is a younger version of Cody Steele.
Yes.
And I think this is probably a Tackett gets Hill down, and I kind of think that he either gets to the back or goes to the legs here. I could see Tackett finishing a fallback outside heel hook on Hill. For some reason, I just have a feeling because Hill notoriously has he is difficult to put away and he's difficult for guys to deal with.
Okay.
He just he can stalemate you.
He's relentless.
He's relentless, but he's also he's very tactical.
Okay.
And guys tend to struggle to break him open.
Okay.
And I think that Tackett will either be able to do that because I can see just with the athleticism that Tackett brings to this game, he could do that. And just Bradley Hill can never even shell he needs to. But I feel like Tackett may decide to end up for the legs here. But Bradley Hill has surprised us many times in the past There's a reason why he's on almost every Polaris.
Yes.
So I do think William takes this probably by sub. Do you have any other thoughts on it?
No, I agree. I agree on that.
A bunch of other fun matches on the card. Kevin Corkill's on the card. He's been on a lot of Grapplefests.
Adele Fortunato. Is that her last name?
Yeah.
Or something close to
I would say Fortunato.
Yeah, something close to that. She's on it. She's good.
Jack Grant's on it. A bunch of folks that we see pretty frequently on Grapplefest. I love that Grapplefest brings back the same people.
Fornerino.
Yeah, Vanessa English versus Adele Fornerino. That should be fun.
Alice Younger is on this card. He's pretty.
We've covered him a bunch of times on the show. He's against David Asare. David Asare had a really fun match. I forget which. It was a European card, I think. He had a very fun, I think a really quick sub against someone, a huge takedown. I forget exactly what it was, but it was a big highlight reel moment.
Okay.
I think on the last Grapplefest or the Grapplefest before. So should be a fun card. Pay-per-view, worth the money. Watch the card, support grapplers so they can get paid and enjoy the show. Anything else on Grapplefest?
No.
All right.
But remember, it's in the middle of the afternoon for us.
Right, European time, which I kind of like.
I like it because it starts at like 2 o'clock on a Saturday for us.
And it finishes up by like 5 o'clock, and you're like, that was a great card. Great way to spend an afternoon.
If you're like us, you train in the morning, then like 2 o'clock, it's like you can kind of get a little nap, you can watch it. It's exciting.
I love Polaris Grapplefest because that's like the perfect time for you for a grappling card.
Yeah.
And I remember, am I going to be on vacation here? My first? No, it would be the week. It would be the day before. One of my favorite memories ever was there was a Grapplefest years ago that I was on vacation, and I remember Grapplefest is on, and I just was like on vacation, didn't have anything to do, just sat back and just got to watch like 4 hours of Grapplefest, and I was like, that was one of my favorite. It was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories still of that vacation. So let's move on to Honor Submission Challenge. Honor Submission Challenge. This one's on Flow.
It's on Flow. It's in Italy.
It's in Italy, so it's the second one that we've covered. I think.
Yes.
Is this the second one, or is it?
I do not know, but we covered the last one and we covered this one, so I don't know how many they've had, but the last one was the one that had the really cool intros, I think.
Yeah, and it was in like a big hotel that was like a 4-story ballroom or something.
They were like walking people in, but they were like walking them in like weird angles and shit.
It was Wagner and Pena was the last one that we covered. This one's got a bunch of. It's got another. Actually, we covered another one too. We've done 2 of these, I think.
Okay.
Let's talk about the division that I'm most amped for. It's a 70-kilo division. We got Fabricio Andre, Keith Krikorian, Owen Jones, and Alicio Sacchetti. Keith put it best on his Instagram. He goes, we got a Brazilian, we got a Brit, we got an Italian, and we got an American.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is an international 70-kilogram bracket.
Didn't he also say, he made some kind of joke about all that too? I don't know.
Happening, I forget what it was, but I'm amped. This is 10,000 euros, which is some amount of American dollars.
How much?
10,000?
I think that means, euros are more than dollars, so I think
they're less now, I think.
Okay.
They were more, but so
keep on going.
I think this comes down to Fabricio Andre and Keith Krikorian. No matter where that falls.
10,900 American.
Oh, it is more again now. That's crazy. I don't do a lot of currency trading. I think depending on how this is bracketed, whoever wins the matchup between Fabricio Andre and Keith Krikorian is the one who takes it. If they bracket that first, winner takes the finals. If they bracket that second, which I assume you would do that here. These are the 2, ADCC guys.
Yeah, they're the 2 that have the largest record.
That being said, the European talent, we always do this, can sometimes sneak up on us and guys can surprise us.
If you think about it, Fabricio Andre and Krikorian are both traveling from the other side of the pond.
Yeah. And again, Keith does that pretty frequently. Fabricio also does that kind of frequently. But
who was the person that did a match and they got stuck in like a train and they had to catch like a second train? Was it Keith?
That was Keith, I think.
Oh, they had
like back-to-back days and he traveled the entire. I think Taza. Was it Taza?
It was Taza.
I think Taza and Keith have both done that.
Yeah, they both have
days.
done like the crazy, they were supposed to be there like 2 days early, but they had to take like 5 trains and I
think Combs has done that. Like, there's a lot of guys that are frequent competitors that have stories like that where it's like, I was the main event here, and then 15 hours later, I'm in the complete other side of the country competing.
Why does Keith Krikorian's Instagram say he's a divorce and family lawyer?
I am not certain. So
I don't think he's in divorce and family law.
I don't think so. So for this dynamic for the match, I think Fabricio Andre takes this bracket. I'm not exactly sure what the rule set is, but I remember
I don't
people
know
being
either.
able to take we had a couple of slower matches at the last Honor, not in like a bad way, but in like you were allowed to play tactically.
Yeah.
They let you take your time for the match and take the match where you wanted to take it as the competitor. I think that favors Fabricio Andre.
Yeah.
Because Keith can play at all speeds. If Fabricio Andre is allowed to play at his speed, he can pull almost anyone into that speed. I mean, think about the finals at ADCC.
Yeah.
Him and Baby Shark, like that kind of match. I think Fabricio takes this kind of match. Keith has been, again, making rapid improvements, looking better and better every time we see him out. Keith's also much bigger than he used to be. We saw him versus Kente Uemota a little bit ago on Soji.
Yeah, we did.
And Keith was far bigger than we'd ever seen him. I think we also saw him on Polaris as well. Much bigger than he usually is.
He went against Jed Hugh. Took
Yeah.
his foot off in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Szynski, wasn't it?
No, I thought Keith got a really fast sub too.
Yeah, he did.
Was it Jed Hugh or was it somebody else?
It wasn't Jed Hughes because Jed Hughes versus Matthias Szynski.
Oh, okay.
But I just think that Fabricio takes this match because we're gonna see a similar Fabricio we saw at ADCC. Tactical.
Halpin.
Thomas Halpin.
That
Yeah,
too.
versus
He
Halpin.
took him out pretty quickly.
Yeah. We're gonna get choke.
Yeah.
Nah, that was a 5+ minutes into that match.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a 23-second.
No.
He did something.
Because Keith posted on his Instagram, because they posted a highlight, and then Keith in the comment went, "This was not representative of the whole match," because Thomas was ahead in the beginning of that match, and then Keith was able to get on his back and finish.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer other than like Fabricio has been more successful recently at ADCC, and I think that him being able to dictate the pacing of the match, he'll be able to pull Krikorian into the speed that he wants to play, and then from there be able to either, if it's a points match, take it on points, or just take it via positional work.
Yeah.
Also on Honor, we have Alexandre Lucas and Jed Hugh. I'm guessing that Jed Hugh is probably out of this now.
Yeah, because
his foot got exploded like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Matthias Szynski ripped all his metatarsals out of his foot.
Does it say anything?
It says "Let's go."
Yeah,
and
but
then let's see translation.
Wild time.
No, it does
Okay.
not say.
Then they had a couple people pull out because Michael Galvao was supposed to be on this card originally.
Who's supposed to be on this? So we also have Jack Sear versus Diego Hayes.
Yes.
Baby Shark. Diogo, I always call him Diego. I'm going to eventually get his name right. I think Diogo takes this.
Yes, I do.
He is the ADCC champion. That is as far as the dynamic of the match.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
me, really,
Jack
I think
Sear,
goes.
we've seen some, but mostly on like Polaris and Honor Sub Challenge. He was on the most recent one prior.
Yeah.
I used way too many words to say the
Little
last
bit.
one.
We saw him versus Danny Khalid on Polaris 22.
Yeah.
But mostly in the European circuit.
Yeah.
And on Polaris, I don't think anyone's beaten Baby Shark.
Yeah.
That's really, it's like not that Jack Sear's not phenomenal. I just don't think anyone's beaten Baby Shark.
Even in the gi, no one beats Baby Shark.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, if Baby Shark, unless you're like, I want to see him against Mikey Musumeci.
Okay.
That's the match I want to see Baby Shark, and I want to see him get signed by one, do Mike Musumeci.
Then we have to get Baby Shark to 1FC, and I don't know if
that's what I want to see. I think Baby Shark beats Baby Shark and does what he wants to do. He gets the back. He gets the finish. That, I think...
We have Jonatas Gracie versus Charles
Negromonte.
Yeah.
That should be fun. I kind of think that Jonatas takes this.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that Jonatas...
He's not always the most interesting gentleman to watch, but as you have said before, this skill set does not care if you stall slightly to be tactical.
But he's consistent.
He's
just
very
really
consistent.
Hard to beat.
He is, and
he'll let it break.
Yeah, he
He'll
just
let it break.
grinds the shit out of something until he gets what he wants.
Who did he beat at Nogi Worlds with one leg? Was it Taza? No, he beat Taza at Who's Number One.
No, yeah.
And that was that's again. I think
I
if
don't
we see the Taza if we see the John Gracie that we saw on Who's Number One,
Yeah.
I think he beats Charles Negromonte. I think he positionally
Yeah.
gets on top, smothers, pressure passes for a minute or 2 minutes.
He
and
takes
then,
his time.
Yeah, and
And
then
he'll-
maintains that top position.
Yeah.
If there's a sub,
I like
he
how
takes it.
I like how in their little advertisement there, look how big, like Baby Shark go up, Baby Shark and down, right there, the one with everybody.
Yeah.
How big like Baby Shark and Fabricio Andre is, and then Keith Krikorian is the creeper over in the corner.
They made him the mountaintop guy.
They gave him a really big picture compared
In
to
the
other
back,
people,
a
but
little bit.
he's like in the back corner.
That is good. Again, I like watching this Honor Challenge. They have
Yeah.
some cool production.
They do.
I enjoyed it last time.
And it looks like they have a fun camp that goes on with it too.
Yeah, they did. They brought a couple of guys out for camps, and like Hadra Gracie out for camp. They had Mickey Gaval. They had Fabricio Andre. They had Diego Hayes, Victor Doria. Were all out there for this big camp, July 6th and 9th in Calgary, Italy. So I love that they also put on a tournament when they bring those guys out for that camp. I love that more, I'm going to call them remote events are doing that. Like, hey, we want to bring a couple of guys for this big seminar tour to our our area. Let's also put on a super fight event because we've already paid for the guys to fly out for this tournament. I think it's a really good way to potentially distribute cost.
Yeah.
To be able to have these guys and pay for these guys to come out to compete on these events, and then also be able to give that technique and seminars to the community of people that you're having the event for. I love that a lot of the European events do this, and I think it's a great way to do that if you're a promoter that's looking to, do an event in not like a U.S. area.
Well, when you think about it, like IBJJF and all of them, they do tournaments, or not tournament. Well, they do tournaments, but they also do seminars with their tournaments.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea, especially when you're going somewhere like this. Looks like it's out in some beach, which I didn't know the beaches of Italy looked like that.
They
but
look awesome.
I guess they do.
It looks awesome. If you're from Italy, shoot us a DM and let us know how awesome your place is.
I know nothing about Italy. I know it looks like a boot.
Looks like
That's
a boot.
about it.
So that's all I got. Miranda, you got anything else? You got anything planned fun this week?
I think I'm going to train with Jason Rao at Vault on Wednesday. He's teaching.
Oh, that'll be cool. I get to miss a Satoshi Ishii seminar, and I'm annoyed about that because I'm on vacation.
He's a very large man.
He is a very large gentleman. I was hoping to get some Nogi Judo.
He was at, what's it called? He was at
ADCC.
No, I saw I saw him at, where was I at? Paulson's gym.
In California?
Yeah, when I was at Paulson's gym a long time ago, he was there, and he was such a large gentleman.
Yeah, he's weirdly big. Every time I see him, I'm just like, you're weirdly big. He's like Heisam Rita weirdly big. You're like, oh, you're gigantic.
He's a gigantic man. He was at pro practice.
That makes sense. That makes sense for
Yeah,
Satoshi.
and one of my friends was doing pro practice, and I would sit and creepily watch them. It was fun. I had a good time.
I'm on vacation this week. Oh, sorry, not this week. This coming week. So basically, I'm trying to get all my affairs in order and sleep from Dallas last weekend, Copa Elite to this weekend, get through my work week, and then head off for vacation.
My birthday is Thursday, so if y'all want to send me something. Just kidding. You don't have to give me anything for my birthday.
So it might be a remote show next week, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
We will figure it out.
We have to figure out how to do this.
We will figure that all out, and then that's all I got. I'm just prepping for that.
You can have the background of Maine. You can be in the woods.
I could be. I might
be Maine and Maine.
You never know. So spelled the same way. So, all right. Anything else, Miranda?
Yep, that's it.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine. My co-host,
Miranda.
We are the Grappling around. Send that what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.